Hey everyone, this is John Asraf. I hope you're having an amazing day, and have I got a great gift for you. I'm here with a great buddy of mine, Kamal Ravikant, and Kamal has got two books. I'm going to talk to him about one of his books called Live Your Truth, which is his newest best-selling book, which is hot off the press, getting amazing reviews, will transform your life when you read it and apply it. And a while back, I read his other book called Love Your Life, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, which is another amazing book. And Kamal's got a super interesting story about his life, where he's had some major highs, some major lows, and has really found a great balance between spirituality, success, giving, learning, loving. And we're going to talk a bit about his newest book. And what I'd like to share with you about Kamal is he was one of the early individuals who made WebMD what it is today. He also has a venture capitalist fund. He's an author. He's a lecturer. He's a wonderful friend. He's done some amazing things like walk 500 miles across Spain, stayed in a monastery, for days at a time, just to find his spiritual core. And from a lot of his life's challenges, life's opportunities, his successes, and learning opportunities, he has come up with some really great, distinct ideas about living your truth. And that's what we're going to talk about in this book, in his book. So,
thanks, John. I hope I live up to that promise.
Ah, great. So, I've got notes, okay? So, I've read this book twice already. I read his other book twice also. And one of the things that I loved about Live Your Truth was it was raw, real, no fluff, no bull, and that really represents who he is. And so the first question I've got for you is, what is, truth? When you,
yeah, it's actually something I struggle with, because it's like, how do you define truth, and how do you define someone to find it, right? And for me, fundamentally, truth is just a full-on expression of you, what you stand for, or what actually transforms your life. And for me, actually, the first book, which is about loving yourself, how I learned to love myself became my truth. And it's actually from many of the people who read the book, it's become their truth as well. But it doesn't have to be. It's what you stand for. And it really, it could change over your life. It could, or it could stay the same. But it's the core thing that is an expression of you, that just, when you live it, it is your real full-on self to the world.
And how does somebody know that they're living their truth versus living a lie or living in the shadow of your truth?
I'll tell you from my experience, life just works. Life just works. It's
Elaborate.
Like for example, before I learned to love myself. By the way, I never even thought about the word love until I hit rock bottom and used that as a way to get out of it. And once I started living that way, my life changed. Everything changed. The way business changed. The inner world changed, which I expected, but the outer world changed, which I didn't expect, which is where the magic comes from, right? And
so you just said something. No, it's all right. He just said the inner world changed, and you didn't expect the outer world to change.
Shocked me, blew my mind. When I first came up with the loving myself practice, it was a vow out of desperation. I was either going to do it or die trying. I was in at a horrible place in my life. I tell people, I wish I was depressed. The depressed would have been an upswing, right? And the vow to love myself, which came out of desperation, came from a far deeper place that I normally access. So I set out to do it, and I was very sick at the time, and my body started getting better. Well, you hear reports about that anyway, so I wasn't surprised. Like Norman Cousins, the whole thing. If you work in yourself, your mind controls your body. But what I didn't expect was things started happening in my life. I was locked up in my apartment, sick, just learning to love myself, and things just started happening that I could not control, that I had no control with. People came in my life I'd met in 20 years. They said, but I needed them, and boom, they just spit out of nowhere. And things started happening to the point where it's no coincidence anymore. I use the word magic. You just walk around expecting it now. So it's like you work in the inner, the outer transforms. And that's how I know, for myself as a barometer, when I'm living my truth, my life just works. Doors just open, opportunities just come. People just materialize. If it's not happening, I have to look inside and say, who am I being that things are not working? Life is from the inside out. Right? A very wise friend told me that once, and that right there fundamentally changed my life.
Life is from the inside out. And one of the things that Kamal just reminded me of is in my gym at home, I have on my vision board, which has got a picture of me and the physique that I want. Right at the bottom, it says "Resist no thing," and it's something that I read in his book, and it like really hit me. And I have the "Resist no thing" as my daily reminder to resist nothing or no thing, and allow life to work. I wrote something, a few things, and I want you to pay close attention to this. It's a quote from the book, and it says, "Sometime to evolve is to open ourselves fully to raw, honest, and to be vulnerable, raw and honest." So one more time, sometimes to evolve is to open ourselves to fully evolve by being raw and honest. Talk to me about that, because I mean, so few people are willing to ask themselves the real hard questions about themselves. And so what does that mean to you? Why did you write that?
You know, for myself, I was stuck in a place of ego. You know, when I came up with this, I was building my last company. It was going to be creative. It's going to be a huge exit with a lot of zeros and a lot of commas. And when that failed, and I failed along with, you know, I thought that I had failed. Whereas, you know, as we learn, like they've been saying for thousands of years, you're the effort, not the outcome, right? But it took
One more time, you're the effort, not the outcome.
And the irony is, if you just focus on the effort, the outcomes are far better than you could have planned, right? So the rawness first came from being at my bottom, and I had nothing to lose. I thought I'd lost. Fortunately, I had family that loves me, but I thought I'd lost everything. As a man, you know, in our society, we're driven to prove ourselves and show ourselves, hey, by what we accomplish, right? So that was me. You know, I was going to accomplish all this. That means what? In the end, I was lovable. Whatever it was, the underlying thing, right? Whereas I think if you start with when I hit bottom, and I had to be honest with myself because I had nothing to lose, right? And I've learned over time that, you know, things happen in life. You know, people we love die. We cannot stop that. You know, like situations happen. The only thing we can do is experience it, fully let it be, because it is part of the human experience. And when you're open with yourself about it, open with others, it transforms others, but also transforms you. And the only way to do is to be open to it. And especially as men, we're not trained in our system. I was in the Army, right? I was in Silicon Valley. No one there talks about being open and being vulnerable. But ironically, that's where greatest strength comes from. Like, since being this way, like, life is just like, it's almost like doors can't open fast enough. You know, it's like the world's hungry for it. You know, my books do so well because they're just, hey, this is how I screw up, this is what I learned, this is how you can do it too. You know, like, it's just being open. Yeah. That's the raw, honest, vulnerable. And there's a strength in it. Like, people, I had no idea people would come to this like that. I thought it was going to be a huge laughing stock, honestly. I really took a big risk. I was terrified. And it draws amazing people like you, just wherever I go, just when you're just being open. You know, we all feel pain, we all feel joy, we all feel sadness, whatever. It's the human experience. And it's okay to feel it, and it's okay to share it. You know, not therapy. I mean, you don't have to do public therapy.
Right.
But just share. And we connect in a deeper level than the superficial ego level, which is what really matters.
Right. And it's funny, as Kamal was talking about, you know, your ego is in the way. I heard many years ago that your ego is not your amigo. And so that just popped into my head. One of the things he wrote in the book that I really loved was an exercise that you learned from Ernest Hemingway.
Yes.
And that was write one thing every day. And that was a practice that you did around loving yourself. And can you talk a little bit more about that practice that you started?
Yeah, well, the Hemingway thing was write one true thing.
One true thing every day.
And he came
up
with
I actually have that. Write one true thing every day. My error.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
It was brilliant on his part because he never had writer's block. Why is that? Because whenever he got blocked, he would say, well, you've written before, so you know you can write again. He said, just write one true sentence, something you know to be true. It could be the sky is blue. You know, I am happy. I am something that is true. Write one true sentence, then another, then another. And I've learned that if you do that for yourself, if you just sit down and, like, if you're going through a hard time, you just write down true, true, true. First of all, you have to be honest with yourself. Going through life being dishonest with yourself is not doing yourself any service. You know, life zings after you're honest with yourself. And no matter where you are in life, no matter what your outer success is, life zings after. So that was his practice, one true thing. So I do that in my writing, but also just started doing that in my practice, which was, I didn't know how to love myself, right? So I just sat around, and I had a background in clinical research before WebMD, so I just started trying things, meditations, looking myself in the mirror, trying all sorts of things, and what worked, I kept, what didn't, I threw away, and just whittled it down to like 3 key things, and just started doing them as a focused practice. And this is a very important thing I learned. You don't just wake up one day and go, oh, I love myself, great, I'm done. Your life is perfect from now. You got to do it every day. It's a gym. If you want to be fit, you go to the gym every day. If you don't, a month later, your body shows. Same thing. If you don't work in your mind every day, your life shows.
Right.
It's not just your mind that shows; it's your life shows.
Everything's a reflection.
Yeah.
Of that.
So you gotta make it a consistent daily practice. That's the secret, I think, to anything, right?
Yeah.
Especially internal self. Make it a focused daily practice. It's like that, that classic quote of Gandhi where, when he was so busy, and one of his backers told him, and he meditated 1 hour a day. They said, "You don't have time. You're too busy." He said, "Okay, then I'll meditate 2 hours a day." It's like that's where life starts. From the inner out, right? So he was smart in that. Like he knew that, oh, if I'm so busy, then I better focus even more time on the inside.
I love that.
Right.
What's interesting is up on my little office desk over there, I've got a picture of Yogananda.
Uh-huh.
And that's just a reminder for me that when things get hectic, I actually sit in this chair and I take 5 or 10 minutes just to do that, to be able to just get recalibrated. And the more busy I am, the more it reminds me stop and take time off to really get refocused. I love that.
Yeah, we get caught in the, especially the world of what we do, we get caught up in the busyness,
Yeah.
right? And you can be far more productive by being more quiet and then less on the busyness. I wish somebody taught me this a long time ago, and I'm glad I know it now and I'm applying it.
I love what Kamal just said. You can be far more effective being quiet and less busy.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that for just a moment.
For part of my practice is meditating, but I'm very lazy, right? I can't do the long meditations. So because I have a background in science, I looked at neuroscience and neuroplasticity and how like our brains anchor to particular things. So I started playing the same music again each time I meditated, so that every time when I put the music on, my brain would just go in that meditative state.
It created an anchor and
That's it.
a great state of
Yeah, so my meditations are 7 minutes long just because the piece of music I use is 7 minutes long.
perfect.
Right, and I get more out of it than when I try to meditate for hours, right? And I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, no, the question was, doing less to be more effective and to be quiet in order to be more effective.
And I've learned that answers just come and suggestions just come wherever they come from. Is everybody's theory. They could be, even if they're subconscious or a higher thing. But I've learned to listen to it. And the things that just happen because I do what just comes in those moments, that makes life just creates opportunities, and it wasn't just when I walk around sometimes when I'm driving, I just slow down and I feel my breath and I just feel loving for myself. And by the way, it's a practice now. When I first started, I didn't believe in loving myself. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I had to do it to save myself. And so it's like, when you first start running and you haven't ran in 20 years. You're going to be creaky. It's going to be awful for the first couple of weeks, but it gets better to the point where it becomes a way of being. And then you notice that you start doing it more and more and more till it's more of your way of being than not. So
it sounds like you've developed some daily or weekly winning rituals that just keep you in living your truth and loving yourself and in being able to have all these doors open by being more centered.
Yeah, and also know which doors to follow, just know how to be in situations, because not everything goes your way, and who to be in that situation. Rather than reacting, when you go from a place of silence and presence, it's always better. It just is.
We have a chance to respond versus react.
Yeah, huge difference.
Very, very big difference. I wrote a whole bunch of notes. One of my favorite lines in the book, you'll get this in a second. It says Hollywood has beautiful people, New York has driven people, Silicon Valley's got smart people, and you said in this chapter that everyone is afraid, whether they're in Hollywood, New York, or LA, and everyone is afraid, no matter where they're at. let's talk about what are people afraid of?
Well, there's a few things. One is, you've heard of the imposter syndrome. We all feel like it, like, you know, especially people I know who've had a good amount of success. They always feel like they stumbled into it, or they didn't deserve it, or like, how did I end up on top? You know, just
Yeah.
like, I'm still that little kid who came from here. And,
I'm
you
not
know,
smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. How do I
Yeah.
achieve the success? Yeah.
Imagine having that and feeling that you deserve it, feeling that you're an amazing human being, that this is happening because you're an amazing human being. How you would express yourself in life then, right?
Mm.
I think the world would be better for it, and when we fully own up to what we create, right? And it's not accidental; it's a result of who we're being. And you know, fear, like every entrepreneur I know ever met is afraid. Every day you have to deal with fear. If
Every
you're
day.
not taking the risk. You're not going to go places you should go, and that's part of the process. And I think when you have a compass, a guide, when you have like something like a figure, this is what I stand for, this is who I am, that always takes you to the fear because you know what you stand for.
Mm.
You have it's not like you have a goal, it's just a compass that's guiding you to the North Star. You know, fear will always be there. I don't think we can ever get rid of it.
Nope.
You know, and in fact, sometimes it's healthy.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of not being like fear being a storm always that's buffeting you around. And yeah, I've never met a successful entrepreneur who's not having to deal with fear every day. Whether it's fear and inner turmoil, all this, just part of the process. I think I was in this panel once on entrepreneurship, and I said, you really have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because that's what it is. You know, if it was comfortable, we'd all do it,
Right.
right?
So let me ask you a question. There are people who are watching this saying, well, I'm looking at my results. They're less than what I want. They're not stellar. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I don't feel good enough. Well, and I have the results to prove it. So what do you say to that person who is embarrassed by their results? They haven't achieved the goals and dreams that they have in their lives, and they have evidence to prove it.
It's funny, you know. I sometimes think about that, like, you know, am I where I should be? Because I'm surrounded by insanely successful, insanely wealthy people, right, in my world. And it's just silly, by the way. First of all, you know, we realize that it does not serve us. First of all, that feeling of lack, it's coming from a place of insecurity, and you're feeling like, guess what you're going to create in your life? You know,
Lack.
more. So I think if we're not satisfied with the outer, that means you got to work on the inner more. I think that's the solution. Rather than try to fix the outer, fix the inner.
Yeah.
The outer, then who you're being naturally creates the outer. You know, regardless of what you believe and how life works, it's who you're being at least changes it, the way you walk through the world, the way you make choices, the way you're being. And that's it. That creates the magic.
I want to ask you a question because I've known you for a little while now, and you're a voracious learner. You don't sit, you know, on your high throne, having made, you know, your life a fairly wonderful success. And part of what I'm hearing is you change from the inside out, but I've also observed you learning, meeting, growing, reading. We've had some amazing dialogues, and what I'm getting at is while you're working on the inside, I'm also hearing that you also are developing your skills, your knowledge, your confidence, your certainty on an ongoing basis. So you're not just sitting there meditating and waiting, you know, for all this good to come. You're also being proactive in the process.
You got to do the work. That's the secret, right? You got to do the work. I mean, but it's a lot easier when it's coming from the inside out because it's not work.
Right.
I don't feel like I work any day at all. You know, like I used to work insanely hard. A friend of mine, he knew me. You know, he's known me for a long time. I saw him a few months ago. We were laughing. We were like, "You were the hardest working guy we knew." And now you just like always walk around not looking like you're working a day of your life. I'm working. It just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm just doing things that are a full-on expression of me. And that's actually become my metric. You know, if it's not an expression of me, I don't do it.
I love it.
So like people I meet or the learning I'm doing, if it's something, an expression of me, or the opportunities that come, I take them. If not, I don't, because I know every time I've done that, it's never ended pretty.
So you got very, very clear.
Yeah.
You know that. So you, like you said, you have your compass that keeps pulling you towards it, and if it's deviating this way or that way, You just say, nope, I want to keep moving towards what it is that I want to trade my life for.
And honestly, you know, I don't follow it all the time, you know, and I've learned to be gentle on myself for that because I'm human,
Yep.
right? In fact, sometimes I fall and I realize, oh yeah, because, you know, I'm not paying enough attention to the inside, and I go back to the inside. That's how I get up. And I'm learning more and more faster. You know, like once you start to experience it, then you can't like rationalize it away because you do it again, it works again. You do it again, it works again. You fall, you do it again, it works again. At this point, you're like, okay, this works, right? But still, the human self likes to, I don't know why, trip oneself up with whatever it is. But more often than not, I'm just listening to more and more. And my goal here is to like learn it, go deeper, and hopefully just have more clarity about it. Like I said, I don't think you just arrive, you say, okay, I'm here and now everything's perfect. It's a fundamentally daily practice.
I totally agree with you. I wrote some more things. I got a couple more questions to ask. I said one of the other pieces I loved in here in this great book was your threshold is where madness ends and the magic begins.
Yeah.
Your threshold is where madness ends and the magic begins. Let's talk a bit about that. What do you mean by that?
I'll give you a practical example. First of all, threshold is where I think where you put yourself out to the world, your work out to the world to be judged. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a parent, whatever, or you're writing a book. Like my first book, the Love Yourself book, I wrote it almost to shut friends up who were begging me to write it because I was sharing with them what was working for me. And like as I've told some people, like I could have just given them the docs and shut them up, Word doc, and just shut them up and be moved on. Instead, I kept the commitment to a friend and published it. That was scary. Here I am in Silicon Valley publishing a book with a guy holding a gun to his head with a little heart saying, love yourself, right? I really thought I was going to be the laughing stock in my career community and just be able to show my face again. Really took that. Well, so the madness is actually in the creating, and like there's a beautiful madness in creating. But the magic of how the world responded, like 5 weeks after I self-published at Amazon, it was the #1 self-help book on Amazon. I did no marketing. People marketed for me. Like the book went viral, right? And I got to see the magic firsthand. Now, if I hadn't crossed that threshold of madness to magic and madness to putting out to the world, then magic never would have happened. I do the same thing. I'm terrified of public speaking, so now I'm public speaking. Because that's where, and it's creating amazing opportunities for me. Each time I go on stage, last time I gave a talk, which you saw.
I saw, it was great.
I went to the bathroom 5 times before I got on stage. I was terrified. But the talk went great and opened up other doors for me. The magic came after. So the madness is like creating something, whatever it is, your expression of you, what you're doing to, and putting it out to the world. And then the world responds, and life responds, and that's where the magic happens.
I love that.
But it won't happen unless you cross that threshold. That's the fear. You gotta
feel the fear, do it anyway, as Susan Jeffers, I think, wrote in her book many, many years ago.
And there's a reason why we all remember that, because it's true.
Yeah, it is so true. The other thing that I wrote that I thought was really profound, and I wanted to touch on a little bit more, is you said that love is risk.
Oh, yeah.
Love is risk. Every baby wants to be loved, every human wants to be loved, and yet here you are writing about love is risk. Why?
You open yourself up to be, you know, for someone to not love you. And a lot of our love, the way we look at love is, you know, it's okay if you love me. If you don't love me, then there's something wrong with me. Or even loving someone else is risk because they may not reciprocate. Loving, you know, as I think about it though, maybe it's a perceived risk, but it's probably the safest thing we can do in our life because what it gives us, you know, like if we truly love ourselves, or truly love the world, truly love life, truly love people, what else is there beyond it? I'm really starting to think that, you know how they talk about physics, the God particle, the missing particle? I think it's love. I think
That's
whatever the energy
killer
is,
app. I think that's the killer app.
I think that's the God particle, is love. It's just, that's us being fundamentally who we are. Why we exist, that's the underlying nature of reality. So if I was to say, read my book again, maybe I would go edit that and say, love is the safest thing there is.
But I see where you're going with that. However, I can also see that because our ego's in the way, and we want to protect ourselves from pain, from being embarrassed, from being ashamed, from feeling guilty. Yeah, so then we're afraid to be, you know, to say to somebody, I love you, and really come from the heart. And you and I met, you know, I don't know, a year ago or so, and we started saying to each other, "I love you, man."
Yeah.
You know, within a couple of months, as we connected at a deep spiritual level, and we were both really comfortable with that, and it's evolved into a wonderful friendship.
It has.
And so I think, you know, love is risk is true, and it carries with it the biggest, best, most amazing rewards when you're open to it.
Yeah, yeah, it transforms your life unlike anything else.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why we all crave it, you know, or we all want it. Even babies know it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I have this line in the book, if you were once a baby, you knew love. You know, how do you know that you know love? If you were once a baby, you know it. Like, we're hardwired for it.
Yeah.
And it nourishes us and heals us in a way nothing else I've experienced can. But it doesn't have to be love of another. For me, it was loving myself, which has brought the love of
Right.
others. You know, which has been so interesting. Rather than going chasing the love of others, I just love myself, and then the world just starts to love. It's so interesting. Like, I did nothing.
But the
except
world's a
love myself.
mirror. It's a mirror of you.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, right? So fundamentally simple, and it's available to all of us. It's just a matter of doing and making it fun, making it a key practice, like brushing your teeth every day, you know, or going to the gym. That has to be the core practice that you cannot miss.
I love that. On one of the chapters, you talk about confidence and crossing thresholds, and I want to talk about crossing thresholds. You
Mhm.
know, are you the type of person that keeps looking to cross thresholds internally and externally to push yourself, you know, to the next level and the next level?
Yeah, but I've also learned that if I don't do it, life's gonna make me do it, kicking and screaming.
So you repeat the lessons one way or the other.
So might as well do it my own choice. But listen, like putting the first book out was harsh in the threshold. Now putting the second book out was an interesting one because it's much more deeper and meditative than the first one, so it's different.
Right.
And I was like, what if this one flops and the first one's a success?
So fear came back
It's a
again.
different fear. Fear came from a different door. Still dealing with fears. I had to cross that threshold and crossing that threshold brought us here.
Right.
I'm sitting in this chair because of crossing that threshold, right?
Yeah, amazing.
To talk about that book. And it's like now my third book, who knows what it'll be, but I'll probably deal with different fears and I'll cross it. And what happens is you get more and more comfortable. It's like in dating. If you're gonna go ask women out the first one, you're gonna be terrified. By the 100th one, you will not be terrified. They're women. They're human beings that want to be asked out, you know, by a good man. So it's just crossing that threshold again and again, and then the confidence comes. And when you get the confidence, then okay, find other thresholds. Keep on going higher and higher.
And you said something when we started this about being uncomfortable with change and becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. And that, I think, is one of the keys to success, adaptability and being comfortable in change, especially in today's world where change is happening so fast. That, I believe, is one of the key characteristics for any human being, is to just get comfortable. I've often said that change is the only constant in the universe. And most of us hate change. The only person that likes change is a wet baby. And the rest of us are like, you know, we feel this change and we want to move away from it. And it seems to me, knowing you and reading your books, that you're moving towards being more comfortable with change and breaking those thresholds as much as possible.
Because
And being
change is
comfortable there.
Sorry, change is going to happen whether we want to or not, right? The way I'm starting to look at it is, let's say for business, change creates opportunity. Whether it happens in your field or not, it creates opportunity. So if market tanks, there's opportunity. Plenty of people made money when the stock market crashed, each time it crashed, right? Stock market goes up, there's opportunity. Plenty of people make money in the rising market. It's just opportunity. Same in life. It creates opportunity to be better, to go deeper in yourself, to evolve. Some change is not pleasant, you know, loss of people is always hard, but that creates opportunity to then also be closer to people you do have. It creates opportunity to learn from what you had with the people who are gone. It's always opportunity. It's what you know, if we look at it that way, it's far simpler. It doesn't sidewind us like changes normally do, because we accept it and we look at what we can create out of it.
I love it. So you're looking for the positive in the change, and you're becoming comfortable with the transitions that change brings with it.
Yeah, how can I be better? How can I make my life better?
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to end with one question on the things I carry.
Oh, yeah.
And in Live Your Truth, you talked about your journey, 500 miles. And I was just fascinated with your resolve, with the mental fortitude, physical fortitude, spiritual fortitude, and what you learned along the way. Can you maybe talk a bit about that journey of the things you started with and what you ended up with?
This was actually the Camino de Santiago, an 11th century pilgrim route in Spain that people have been walking forever. I was maybe, I don't know what millionth person walking it over the years. And I walked it when I was 26 after my dad died. And I was trying to come to terms with his death. And I was just kind of wandering around broke with a backpack and just figuring my way out. And I started walking it and I couldn't stop. I met amazing people from all the world. You know, it takes a certain kind of person to come to a foreign country and walk in an old pilgrim path. They're always going to be people with interesting stories, right? And it was anything we do which is a journey, whether it's starting a company, writing a book, raising a child, whatever, it's a journey. That was an actual step-by-step physical journey, but journeys transform you. Journeys, and you leave the crud behind as you get better and lighter. And there it was actually like at a heavy backpack at the beginning. By the end, you know, even an extra pair of socks really hurts your lower back. You know, after a couple hundred miles, and you throw that away in a garbage can, realize I only need one pair of socks. I'll just wash it every night. My backpack weighed nothing by the time I ended it than what it weighed when I first started it. And I think that's the same with life. You know, I was talking with a friend of mine today, but she at one point had cancer. She had 3 months to live. Unfortunately, she's around and that got healed. And she said she just realized, she just started letting go of things, letting go of things. So I got to do dry clean, all these things. I got to do dry cleaning, all this. Didn't matter. Let go of it. Let go of it. Just for what mattered. Her family, her legacy, her friends. You know, relationships weren't working. Let go. Same in that's the life journey. You know, it's just we let go of things. And I think when we do things like Expression of Us, with especially in entrepreneurship and creating something, we let go of a lot of things as well. Especially when you put it out to the world. You have to let go of a lot of your ego, fears, and attachment to who you are, because now the world is going to decide what it is.
You know, I love it. When I read that chapter, I couldn't help but think, like, what have I got in my backpack that I think I need, but I really don't need? And what can I just keep letting go of?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, it just made me really reflect. That's why, you know, I wanted to cover some of the things that touched me. And I have bunny ears on the entire book, and then I've got it home, and I ended up buying a downloadable version of the book, you know, so that I could prepare for this, because it was very, very, very profound. So, friends, hopefully you've enjoyed this. I don't know how long we've been, but Live Your Truth is really an amazing book. And there's information on this page to pick up a copy for yourself and for some friends. Kamal Ravikant speaks from the heart and lives from the heart. And I hope you really enjoyed just a few moments with us to give you a couple of ideas, enlighten your life. And you know what? I love you. And I know that Kamal loves you. And we love each other. And that's the killer app. You all have an amazing day, an amazing weekend. Remember, it's your choice to live your truth.